Don't you know drugs are everywhere, drugs are everywhere, drugs are everywhere, you can't stop it. Criminalize it, make it profitable, and so it's one of a day. Drugs are everywhere, drugs are everywhere.
Hey, Murph here. I'm a former heroin addict, current alcoholic, and you're tuned into Self-Medicated Weekly Dose, a podcast all about drugs and the people who use them. As always, this program is inspired by the harm reduction movement, informed by my personal experience using all sorts of drugs for damn near 30 years, and enlightened by my special guests. And, oh, Christ, I got none today. I got no special guests today, and I'll tell you why. I have moved. The family has up and moved. We're still in beautiful Portland, Oregon, but we moved into a new spot, and, you know, I had to pack up the old home studio, take it to a new spot. You know, I got to get reconnected so that I can get guests on. You know, got to have my internets, my gigabits and whatnot all in order so I can have guests again. So I'm going to do some solo eps here until I get the guest train moving again. And I'll have to enlighten you myself until I get my wonderful. I have some great guests lined up that I are on board to hop in the mix here, but. We'll have to wait on that. In the meantime, we got a couple of special episodes lined up here. I just wanted to share a little something with you off the top here. I'm wearing this Dynamite t-shirt. Love this. My new favorite tee. Let me stand up here, get a good view. It reads, "This car touched fentanyl," is the text, and it's a Chicago police cruiser on fire. As we all know, you know, when a car touches fentanyl, it fucking explodes, just like human beings do. That's how fentanyl works. God bless Nick Needles. Nick Needles is the artist that I got this shirt from. So look up Nick Needles out there on the webs. Well, anyhow, setting up the new home studio here. Feeling good. But let's catch up on the rest of the world together, as there's some blockbuster news that we got to address here on the Weekly Dose. Of course, from the angle of substances we'll get to, but. My word, I imagine, you've heard the news by now, but just in case you haven't.
Fox News Media announcing that it and Tucker Carlson, one of its marquee hosts, are parting ways. They announced that Mr. Carlson's last program was Friday, April 21st.
That was it, and that was all. Tucker Swanson McNear Carlson, husband, father, DEA mouthpiece, Christian nationalist. But I love to hate watch. I don't know if who can relate out there, but watched a lot of this Peckerwood. Watched a lot of him, particularly when it comes to drugs. So there's a lot of clips, a lot of fun clips over the years from his program over there on Fox. And I wanted to do a little special episode here where we can really just dive into a full segment. You know, there were a ton of great ones to choose from. Like I said, on his way out the door, actually. He sat down with Russell Brand. He had this to say, which coming from someone who has watched the man very closely, especially whenever he goes off on drug users. This was a real a change of heart here coming from Tuck.
I'm not angry at the fentanyl addict. I'm angry at the industry that's grown up around him that doesn't treat any of his needs, that leaves him to die alone, and that becomes rich doing so. And that the politicians who posture about his death when they could have prevented it. And unfortunately, I get so overheated, I get so pissed that in many cases I have allowed myself to sound like I'm mad at the junkie when I'm certainly not. As a sober person, I have deep empathy for anyone who's lost an addiction, particularly on the street.
As a sober person, has a deep empathy. I mean, the depths of this man's empathy are just truly remarkable. It's just that he's so pissed at the man. He's so pissed at the man and the politicians who aren't taking care of these junkies out there on the streets that sometimes it just comes across like he's shitting on poor people out on the streets. But, if it comes across that way sometimes, look, maybe that's on me. Maybe that's on us. Maybe we're projecting that on the depths of the empathy. Here's an instance of where I could see, sounds like he's pissed off at the man, not a drug user, surely.
Politicians are making it much easier to be a homeless drug addict in the United States and much harder to be a law-abiding member of the middle class. What's the effect? Well, let's see. The middle class is dying, and we now have record numbers of drug-addicted vagrants.
Well, I'll tell you, Tuck, that just sounds like late-stage capitalism to me, my man. Middle class gone, rich got richer, and people are out there unhoused, struggling. But remember, he's after the man. It's the politicians. It's the establishment that he's so pissed. He's pissed, frankly. Tucky's pissy.
This is America, the country you grew up in. Not fewer homeless, just better funded homeless.
Better funded homeless, and we have a shot of, that tarp that this fella here is living under is it's in tatters, but you could do worse. So you're well-funded homeless. Yeah, that makes sense.
So like OxyContin and virtually everything else that's wrecking the country our ancestors built, this is a manufactured crisis.
In case the pitch of that dog whistle there didn't quite register, that's our ancestors. They built this country, and then along comes OxyContin and vagrants out there, fucking crazy, deranged criminal junkies running around the streets, and our ancestors are just rolling over in their graves.
And the solution is as simple as the problem.
Now, this I appreciate. If you're going to piss and moan, offer a solution at least, right?
Here's the solution. Stop putting up with it. Say no. No, you can't smoke meth in the park. You're not allowed to crap on the sidewalk.
No. Don't put up with it. First of all, I will crap on whatever fucking sidewalk I want, whether I'm smoking meth or not. I got loose bowels, Tuck. So don't fucking tell me what sidewalks I crap on.
Pull up your pants and get the hell out of here. Go somewhere with lower standards. Head for a place where politicians don't care about their people, because we do care. And that's why we're hauling your tent to a landfill and cutting off your checks today. You are a drug addict. Get a job or leave. This is our city. You are not allowed to wreck it. You didn't build it.
Right. So you could see how one might be confused as to what makes Tucky so pissy. At least he's offering a solution. Again, the solution is get the fuck out of here. Like I said, he's just one step away from that burlap sack, smoking meth and crapping on sidewalks. Get out of here. Get out. Get your fancy ass tarps and get. Your ancestors didn't build this country. I know your ancestors. I've done Ancestry.coms on all of yous out there smoking meth and crapping on sidewalks, and I know that your ancestors didn't build the country. Tucker Swanson McNear Carlson, the Swanson McNear Carlson clan is who built this goddamn country. Okay then. Let's get to the meat. We're gonna really dive in here. A little while back, it's about sometime last year in 2022. There was some federal funding put aside, $30 million to be exact. Which, Christ on the cross, $30 million. That's I'll take that. I'm not going to kick that out of bed for eating crackers. That's a nice lump sum, it sounds like. But when you break it down, we're talking about nationally, $30 million in grant funding is made available through SAMHSA, the Federal Drug Administration there, to harm reduction outfits who apply and say, hey, we're taking care of people in our communities. We need needle exchange programs. We've got Narcan, buses out there giving out Narcan and fentanyl testing strips. We've got, just basic public health. We're helping people who are out there who are unhoused. We're helping people who use drugs safer, and we're keeping people alive. The overdose epidemic is just off the charts. We're just 110,000 is the most recent. So it just keeps. So as this goes, there's still people banging their heads against the wall. This nope, we gotta choke it, we gotta bomb it, it's a war here. We're just getting warmed up, rather than just giving people the life-saving measures that are available to them, or that can be available to them with the funding. So in this budget, there was $30 million coming from the Health and Human Services, where it was like, hey, plenty of money's going to drug court. The DEA is getting another fucking, billions. I think of almost $4 billion or something was his last go around for the DEA for the year. So, 30 million versus 4 billion. Jesus Christ. What are we even talking about here? Well, just for 1 year, it'd be wonderful to just swap those just for 1 year. Let's just let the DEA operate on $30 million for a year. Send a bunch of people. Send all the agents home with their battering rams and their fucking armored vehicles and no coups this year in Central or South America for the DEA. Let's just say 30 million administrative. You know what I mean? We'll have Patricia and Roberta and the gals down in accounting there. Just taking care of keeping the lights on for the DEA. $30 million, pay them their salaries. Everybody else take the time off, and let's just give $4 billion to the harm reduction movement just for a year. And that'd be a fun experiment. But of course, any amount of money going to harm reduction, people latched on to this. So the right-wing media dove in. And of course, the less right-wing media and the slightly less right-wing political party immediately crumbled and backpedaled when they were called out on this $30 million. They thought they could just slip it through and be like, well, we'll say the word harm reduction, we'll put $30 million in grant funding up there for people to apply. And what can they use it for? Well, this is where things get interesting. This is where the right-wing media had themselves a field day. And the narrative just came out that it was the crack pipes. It was Joe Biden. You might remember this. It whipped through the cycle. It lasted a little longer than the 24-hour cycle. This one went a little bit. But the whole idea was that there was Joe Biden. The narrative was Biden is given $30 million for crack pipes, to give drug users crack pipes. Which, again, just before we even dive into this clip, because I am milking this because I promise you it's worth it. This is a tour de force. This is definitely when you go top 5 of Tucker segments. I mean, this one it's got it all, really. But anyway, that's the backdrop of this. The $30 million in harm reduction funding would be available for harm reduction in a budget of billions of dollars in drug war funding and drug courts and all the other punitive measures. They're all still there and they're all well funded. Don't worry, but a little bit of trickle down, just a couple of table scraps came the way of harm reduction, of evidence-based drug treatment. And, right-wing media lost their fucking minds. And Tucker, of course, as the king of the dicks, took it to another level and really wrapped up so many things in this. I'll be stopping as we go here to just do a quick fact check and just for fun. I mean, what am I fucking... You're like, come on, you're a clown. You're going to sit here and fact check a Tucker Carlson segment? I am specifically because there's just so much here. And we'll share some laughs, I'm sure, at some of the more outlandish statements and dog whistles and whatnot. But everything from Biden's crack pipe, from Hunter Biden's crack use to white genocide. I mean, it really just covers all the bases. Classic Tucky. So here we are with in my opinion, the greatest Tucker Swanson McNear Carlson segment in his career thus far. Here it is.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. We've got news for you this evening. Joe Biden, the president, has announced another piece of his highly promoted equity agenda. That's the government-wide effort to improve the lives of African Americans.
All right, we're going to barely out of the gates here, and we're going to stop real quick because this is an important point. Because this is part of, he's getting that whistle. He's getting that whistle warmed up here. Because here's what's interesting about part of his equity agenda. I'm going to pull this up because I want to actually read this text. This is from whitehouse.gov. This is that great website that we all pay for, whitehouse.gov. This is the executive order on advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. This was from 2021. This is early Biden. We're going back here now. But when he launched this, there were parts of this budget, $5 trillion over the next 5 years is what we're looking at here. And of course, Tucky, lasers in on this $30 million. And he just starts off by saying that this is part of Biden's equity agenda to improve the lives of African Americans. So Tucky's framing's a little wonky to start here. I just want to read this word for word. Just to clarify, this equity agenda that he speaks of, for purposes of this order, the term equity means the consistent and systematic, fair, just, and impartial treatment of all individuals, including individuals who belong to underserved communities that have been denied such treatment, such as Black, Latino, and Indigenous and Native American persons, Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders and other persons of color, members of religious minorities, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer, LGBTQ+, persons with disabilities, and here we go, Tucky. I think the LGBTQ plus just lost. You know, Tucky just drifts away on that plus often. I've seen it in his eyes. So I don't think he read this last part. Persons with disabilities, persons who live in rural areas, and persons otherwise adversely affected by persistent poverty or inequality. So yeah, we're talking about poor white people as well, Tucky. They're in here. So you want to talk about cherry picking? I mean, Tucky's already right in. I mean, we are less than 30 seconds into this segment here, and he's already cherry picking and dog whistling. I mean, the guy can multitask. I mean, the dog whistles in one hand and he's cherry picking with the other. So away we go. But just to clarify, Tucker, the old equity agenda is also for poor white folks. Sorry for the lengthy interruption, but you really came out of the gates full of piss and vinegar and nonsense there.
You may recall that on his first day in office more than a year ago, the new president explained that equity will require determination and creativity. And this week, he proved that's true. Joe Biden's latest idea is to pay Black people to smoke more crack.
Again, framing. Look at these frames. I mean, these are not sideways. Doesn't even begin to explain the framing here. This is now up and around 180 degrees. This is fucking thing ain't even a frame. It's a goddamn Papa John's hollowed out pizza box. What is this you have hanging up on the wall here? This framing is outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. The equity agenda is just basically to pay, the whole point of this equity agenda here and the whole point of this budget is to pay Black people to smoke crack. That sounds right.
Going forward, the administration will send at least $30 million in tax money to nonprofits and local governments so they can purchase, quote, safe smoking kits.
Of course, get the taxpayer. The taxpayers. Oh, the taxpayers are riled up. $30 million in taxpayer money. Yeah, to save lives. The amount of taxpayer money that continuing that prison industrial complex, which is far more expensive, let me tell you. If you want to talk about the taxpayers getting real pissed off. I mean, Jesus Christ, a new crack pipe, couple of rocks and a night at the old Motel 6 there. Hell of a lot cheaper than prison. So you want to talk about the taxpayers? Oh, boy, it's $30 million for fucking crack pipes. My God. And it's all for crack pipes, of course. $30 million in crack pipes. Now, I've fashioned a few crack pipes in my day. Hollowed out tire gauge with some Charboy, little steel wool packed into the end of it there. Pretty cheap. I mean, $30 million just for crack pipes. That would be kind of wild if that was anywhere near true. But go on, Tucky. Sorry, I keep interrupting you.
According to HHS, these kits will contain Joe Biden-approved pipes that will allow beneficiaries of the equity agenda to smoke crack cocaine as well as crystal meth.
Now, again, if you look at the HHS, I mean, we're talking about and I'm not going to read this to you, but just take my word for it. If you want to go to the old whitehouse.gov, it's there in print. I mean, you got to go through 9 paragraphs of what this money can be used for, and you find crack pipes. Now, you skipped over a lot. You skipped over needles. Needle exchange programs used to be the ire of the right wing, the old conservatives. I mean, geez, Newt Gingrich, Mr. Limbaugh himself, all the greats of when I was growing up would not have it with the needle exchange. Now, you've skipped right over that, and now it's about crack pipes. And there's a reason for that, as you'll see here, as he warms up his whistle.
Some say it's about time. Soros-aligned NGOs have long complained that marginalized groups in this country don't have adequate access to illegal narcotics or the tools to use them. With this new program, Joe Biden will finally close the crack gap. For too long in America, quality crack pipes have been the domain of rich white men like so much else. Here's the president's son, for example, smoking crack in bed at the Four Seasons. You'll notice the beautifully designed custom crack pipe. Its cooling bowl nestled in the high thread count Egyptian cotton sheets. When Hunter Biden smokes crack, he does it in style.
My goodness, that is just crack poetry. That is rock poetry right there. Nestled in the Egyptian cotton. I mean, and also it's just a glass piece, a little glass stem. But, of course, when you're in the Biden family, you can get yourself a fresh stem. You don't have to fucking, burn your lips and reuse and have little, shards and great. He gets the best of the best. Good point, my man.
But not everyone in this country is so fortunate. Try to toast some rock in West Baltimore sometime.
No, you try to toast some rock in West Baltimore.
You may have to make the pipe yourself from tinfoil or a broken car antenna. Our inner cities are pipe deserts. Talk about the new Jim Crow. Bull Connor would be proud. Bull Connor didn't think black people deserved new crack pipes. Joe Biden's going to change that. Biden understands how essential narcotics are to the future of his party.
What?
If Democratic voters stop smoking crack, they might start thinking for themselves and become Candace Owens or something.
Whoa. All right, hold on. Let's load. I mean, with a whiplash here, I apologize for how all the starting and stopping here, but Jesus, we're on a fucking roller coaster ride now. What we've done here is we've framed, number one, that they want their voting base, so black people, to smoke crack. Now, you're racializing, of course, crack use. White people smoke as much crack as black people do. We've talked about this on the program before. It's the same with the opioid crisis being racialized to white people, as black people are dying of opioid overdoses. I mean, look, man, drugs, just like every other goddamn thing. Everybody using them drugs. It's a personal preference. But it's interesting because the voting base keep them happy by smoking crack. So there's a lot of logical loops here. Because God forbid they stay sober. They may go full Candace Owens.
Now, you may be wondering as you watch all of this, hold on a second. Is the real drug crisis in this country really that crackheads don't have enough crack pipes? I seem to remember reading somewhere that more than 100,000 Americans died last year from opioid ODs.
Well, I don't know where you read that. Over 100,000 people, and this was last year, the year that he's saying this, died of drug overdoses. And I think 75, 80, maybe almost 80% or something were opioid, but not over 100. That would be 75,000, 80,000, whatever it is. But he seems to have read something somewhere, etched in the wall at a bathroom stall at a truck stop where somebody was smoking meth and taking a shit on the sidewalk. That must have been where Tuck read this. But let's just keep in mind here, where are we going with this?
What are we doing about that? Well, good question. And the answer is nothing. We're not doing anything about that. Those 100,000 Americans weren't from officially marginalized groups. Their deaths have nothing to do with the equity agenda. In fact, their deaths may have helped the equity agenda by changing the demographics of the country in a way that benefits the Democratic Party.
Boom. And now here it all comes together. Through multiple threads of nonsense, multiple steaming piles of bullshit have now come together here. We've racialized it. We've done our perfect divide and conquer. The racializing of drugs, here we are. We have our black crackheads who are being taken care of by the Democratic Party and the white victims of the opioid crisis. No one's doing anything. He's letting all the whites die. This tangled web we weave here, Tucky, is truly incredible. That A to C to Z to white genocide, we've arrived.
Candace Owens is the host of Candace. We're always delighted to have her on our show.
And of course, the old Chekhov's gun. You don't call on Candace Owens early in the segment if you ain't bringing her home. Oh, hello, Candy. Give it to us straight.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that the Biden administration loves Black America and cares about the health and well-being. All you have to do to be healthy in Joe Biden's America is grab a government-sponsored crack pipe. It's pointedly ridiculous that this is going on, and it's sad how easy it is to get drugs. And Black Americans are suffering, and nothing is being done. No one is calling this out.
It's so transparently hateful. I mean, you're a mother. If you had a child who was struggling with drug abuse, and a lot of Americans face this, it's really sad and tough.
It is. I agree. I mean, as a father, Tuck, you're a father. Candy, you're a mother. I'm a father. Hey, look, we're all parents here. We're all parents here. We don't want any sort of public health interventions as parents, clearly.
Would you give the kid needles and a crack pipe and say, look, if you're going to do it safely in your bedroom?
No, I would tell him or her or them, go get your mystery drugs. No, testing strips. You don't get to know what it is. No. You go buy it, whatever the fuck it is. And I want you to take that dull needle there, get that syringe from that stranger. There may or may not be HIV, Hep C in there. That's for you to find out, kiddo. And I tell him, turn around and say, fucking yakety yak. No pipes for crack. Take out the papers and the trash. Your papa's hippie knows what cooks. You tell your junkie friends outside. You ain't got time to get high safely. Yakety yak. Die from crack.
It's not just drug addiction, it's drug use. And anybody who wants you to think less clearly is trying to enslave you, obviously. It's pretty simple.
Oh my, there's that demonic cackle. And we'll end on the enslavement, but also enrichment and equity. It's all over the map. Well, anyhow, listen, I'm going to get some guests coming back very soon as I get this home studio in order. Please, if you're out there listening, let me know what you think about this madness that we find ourselves in. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been your Weekly Dose.
Hey America, there's needle use of sleeping with your children, with your daughters, with your sons, and with your husband.
Self-Medicated Weekly Dose is hosted and produced by me, Murph Meyer, with support from Pop Culture Collaborative. Our theme song is My Congressman by 15, courtesy of Jeff Ott and Hopeless Records. Original artwork and production design by Diana Kolsky. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the program, you can listen to new episodes of Weekly Dose every Wednesday, wherever you get your podcasts. While you're at it, subscribe to the Self-Medicated YouTube channel to see new video clips from the show each week. Follow me on Instagram at Murph Meyer. And for some top-shelf harm reduction resources, head over to selfmedicatedpod.com. Also, don't forget, you can call the Weekly Dose podcast anytime to leave me a voicemail message with your thoughts on drugs and the people who use them. Just pick up the phone and dial 443-MK-ULTRA. All right, that's about it for me. I'll see you next week. Love and solidarity. Goodbye. Weekly Dose.
Hey America, there's needle use of sleeping with your children, with your daughters, with your sons, and with your husband.